Greetings all, I'm Bill Vencil. This is Chords of Orion, and recently I posted an ambient guitar meditation in the style of Frippertronics. On this video, I'd like to walk through my pedal board's signal path and show you how I got the sound. First up is the guitar. It is a Kiesel NEO Ohm, and yes, this is the guitar that Devin Townsend gifted me last year. Link to a video of that story at the end of this video. All right, so here's what we have going with the NEO Ohm. Yeah, just a very plain sound, and you'll note that I'm using the Strymon Iridium amp modeler. That's on the board, and it is turned on. I've got it set to a deluxe reverb amp model feeding into a Marshall Greenback speaker sim. All right, let's go back to the beginning, and that is of the signal path, and that is the tuner. I'm not going to demo that because it's a tuner. From there, I go right into the Strymon Compadre compressor. Here's my uncompressed sound. Let me kick in the compressor. You can hear I've got a fair amount of compression going on. So I get a fair amount of sustain out of the guitar tone. After that, I'm heading into the Keeley Overdrive. And I'll turn that on. And if you look at the way I've got the dial set, it's just a teeny tiny little bit of distortion. And it's more just boosting the level into the front of the Strymon Iridium. And I also have the bass boost on, and I'm using the germanium transistor setting. Here's what that sounds like. So it's more dirty and a little crunchy than anything else. The Electro Harmonix LPB3 is on the board, but I am not using it today, although it is, in its own right, a fabulous clean boost and a dirty boost. In between the Manus and the Strymon Iridium, I've got my Lehle volume pedal. And the reason why I put it in between the two is I want the volume pedal to act a little bit like the volume knob on a guitar. In other words, if I bring the volume pedal down a lot, I'm not really getting much signal into the Iridium amp modeler, so it's a little bit cleaner. And then as I raise the volume on the pedal, you can hear that I'm getting more gain. A lot of times I'll run the volume pedal after the Iridium if I want to leave the gain structure alone, but I didn't want to do that on this piece. From there, I'm going into the Strymon El Capistan, and this is set up for the Frippertronics style looping. I'm using the El Capistan sound on sound mode, and if you look at the two switches, that will engage the sound on sound mode. I've got this set to about an 8-second loop, if you will. And as you can see, I've got a fair amount of repeats going on. Also, there's a fair amount of tape age going on too, so that as the delays repeat, or as the loop repeats over and over and begins to fade out, it gets that squishy, little distorted, wobbly kind of sound that tape style delays do that can sometimes sound really, really nice. Here's an example of what that sounds like. Yeah, it's cool. You can already hear the tape wobble kind of showing up. And then at the end of the signal path is the Strymon dig. It's a dual digital delay, and I've got it set to about a 1.6 second delay. Yeah. So it's got that dotted eighth kind of feel in the delay, but it's a very slow delay. So it's more of a texture than a specific rhythm, especially since I'm going to be playing, or did play, all volume swells. Why the Strymon dig after the El Capistan? Well, simply this. The loop on the El Capistan is longer than the dig. So if I had the dig in front of the El Capistan would tend to cut off the delay decays from the Strymon dig. In addition, the Strymon dig is set to deep modulation, so I get a wider stereo spread, and that would also get smeared if I ran the Strymon dig first into the El Capistan. All right, so I've got everything kind of turned on now, and what I'd like to do is just play a few notes a little bit like the piece. I won't go too long, so don't go away. And what you'll see me do after I play a few notes is I'm going to turn the repeats knob all the way up on the El Capistan, and that's going to get the effect that I got at the end of the performance piece. So here we go. So that's it on the pedal board. It's actually pretty straightforward. There are 6 pedals activated and in use for this particular sound. The only other thing I did as I mixed the piece down, I added just a little bit of room reverb in a plugin. It's the stock Logic Chromaverb, just to add a little more space into the sound, but just a teeny tiny little bit, not a ton. The bulk of the sound is coming from the pedal board. And then what if you don't have an El Capistan and a dig? No worries. Just get any delay that can do about a 6 to 7 second delay. For example, the TC Electronic Flashback 2 is a great option. Just crank the delay time all the way up and you've got your El Capistan kind of delay. And then grab another delay and put it after the long delay, and that could be another flashback or whatever. Just any kind of delay that can do about a 1 second delay, and if you're running a stereo rig, any kind of stereo delay. It's actually pretty straightforward. So drop a comment and let me know what you think about this setup here. Also, let me know if you've got a favorite signal path on your pedal board for Frippertronics style looping. And then finally, here's that video, the Devin Townsend video. Click on it and I'll see you over there.